Hello, everybody. My name's Penelope, and I live in London. And I've been asked by Linda to talk about Chiron. I do love Chiron because last year I had my Chiron return. So I began to research how that was affecting me and what it meant in my own life. Because I'd come from, looking at my own chart, I'd come from a lot of hardship, and I was able to start my own healing process through discovering Chiron. So we can begin the slides if we like, and we'll go through it. So Chiron transits into Aries, and Chiron moved into Aries on the 18th of April 2018, and it will remain there until the 28th of September 2018. And then it will retrograde back into Pisces and remain there until February 2019. And then it moves back into Aries and will remain there for the next 8 years. So, and I quite like the fact that it's moved just after my Chiron return has happened. It means quite a lot to me. So next slide. So Chiron in mythology, I began to have a bit of a look at that, and it was quite a beautiful thing. It's Greek mythology. Chiron in Greek mythology, was one of the Assuntas, the son of Titan Cronus and Philara. I know my pronunciation there may be incorrect, but an oceanide of sea nymphs. Chiron lived at the foot of Mount Pelion in Thessaly. Unlike other Assuntas, who were violent and savage, he was famous for his wisdom and knowledge of medicine. Many Greek heroes, including Hercules and Achilles, were instructed by him, and Chiron was accidentally pierced by a poisoned arrow shot by Hercules. He renounced his immortality in favor of Prometheus, and he was placed among the stars as the constellation of Assuntas. So I think with this, the beauty, I did look at a clip of Thessaly, the Mount Pelion, and it's very beautiful. It's not a huge mountain, but it's a very idyllic space. I Googled that, and it's a very beautiful place in Greece. And the next slide, please. So Assunta in Greek mythology is a race of creatures, part horse and part man, dwelling in the mountains of Thessaly and Arcadia. And this image here, this I pulled up, I found was to represents the archetype of Aries, that picture, which I thought was quite beautiful. That, you know, going for it, the fire, I can see the fire in that picture, and I quite liked that, and the Mars type archetype. So the next slide, please. So in classic mythology, Prometheus was the Titan who stole fire from the gods, and he gave it to humans. As punishment for the theft, Zeus ordered Prometheus chained to a rock and sent a great eagle to gnaw at Titan's liver. I quite liked that it's not a very nice thing that he did that, but I quite liked the history and the mythology there. And I think the next slide, please. A Titan is an extremely important person. Albert Einstein was a Titan in the world of science. So for me, also, I think Carl Jung was also a Titan to me in the world of psychology. The noun Titan comes from Greek mythology, in which the Titans were a race of gods. Today, a Titan is someone who is godlike or powerful and influential in a certain field. So next slide. The Chiron discovery, it was discovered on the 1st of November 1977 by Charles D. Cole. I believe that's how that's pronounced, but I could be wrong. The image of Chiron was taken on the 18th of October at Palomar Observatory in San Diego, and is owned and operated by the California Institute of Technology, and it was given temporary designation of 1977. It was the most distant known minor planet, and since Chiron's discovery in 77, astrologers have been experiencing and exploring his themes and listening to the new tales and resound to his ancient myth. and coming to some understanding of these archetypal impact. Next slide, please. Chiron and the Rainbow Bridge between the inner and outer planets. The book that you can get on Amazon, I don't know if any of you have that, but it's a brilliant book and it's quite in depth, and it gives you some of the aspects as well and the relationship to other planets. Something else I did do, I looked at Ellis Greene, who's on astro.com, and quite a bit of her writings on there, and I looked up her understanding of Chiron too, which was fascinating. She's got a beautiful article on Chiron and the relationship to the sun, which I found very fascinating. Greene sees Chiron as essential in deepening our understanding of our solar consciousness. But in order to choose to live life to the full, we have to face that part of us that would rather seek death. And I think that's quite a human thing, that we're all, you know, we all struggle with the idea of the life and death as we go through life at different stages in life as well. Next slide, please. Okay, this is my chart. I don't know if you can see the in the 4th house, you've got Chiron and Saturn, which are conjunct. I guess you might be able to see that. It's near my IC and 4th house, and it's played out in my life quite fully, that placement. There was a lot of trauma, and I had Chiron return on the 30th of March 2017, and it's now out of orbit, but it will go back in and hit Saturn again, Chiron, and then it will move out away, orb out again later this year. So the study of my own placement has allowed me to come to terms and heal the depths of my own wounds, and to expand my consciousness, and to feel a greater compassion for others, and to explore also, which I've done, complex PTSD, which I now understand more in my own terms as being complex PTSR, I'm going to add, which is a response to our trauma. And also it's helped me to assist others in healing any memories that are more than a year to 18 months old, because I'm able to look at people's charts and see where healing needs to occur, and also where the transits are, to help people understand where they're at. It's powerful to know our own charts, and I'm sure a lot of you here do know your own charts. So the next slide, please. So I have noted my own struggle inwardly, and I can only imagine that the depth of pain is similar for all of us as we travel through life, the dips and the heights. And I see life as a gift of time, and I have found that understanding my own chart has begun to save me time and through the maze of life. It has helped me be more accepting and allowed me to get more creative on the things that have wounded me. And it has also allowed me to see my abandonments and hurts in a different light. And it's helped me to transcend and transform and allow me to be patient with myself. Next slide, please. Okay, and also with any polarity in life, we also, as astrologers, we also need to look at the polarity of Chiron and our own planets, and the polarity hope versus despair, the will to live versus our hopelessness, may be illuminated in part and through the symbolism of the polarity of the sun and Chiron. And Liz Greene quoted that, which I thought was lovely. Next slide. Okay, the key Chiron themes, and we've got the collective failings and flaws, the disillusionment, failed ideals, inescapable wounding, bitterness and cynicism, physical and psychological damage, and also the nervous system, it's, you know, the electrical system, acceptance of mortal limits, our quest for understanding and compassion. And Chiron rules the mind-body healing, our health and illness, our mental health conditions connected to our emotional health, and trauma affecting mental health and well-being. Next slide, please. Okay, I love this. I love Carl Jung. I've been reading quite a lot of his work at the moment, and it says that which we do not bring to consciousness appears in our lives as fate, and that's Carl Jung. And I particularly love this picture, so I thank Linda for finding this particular picture, because it really resonated with me. The beauty that, you know, we've got this power in us, but we've also the fate. We've got, you know, we've got to look outside and look to inward to actually transcend the pain in our own lives. So next slide, please, Linda. Okay, this is an article by Ellis Greene, a clip, which she says there are many stages in the process which Chiron represents, beginning with his wounding and ending with his transformation into mortality and his release from suffering. These stages encompass rage, fury, the desire to injure others, bitter resignation, self-pity, feelings of victimization, and at last, the dawning of a wish to understand the universal patterns that lie beyond one's personal pain. At any of these stages, if we fail to face and comprehend what is happening to us, we may become stuck and act out some of Chiron's less attractive features. Chiron is, after all, wounded in his animal half, and animals are not known for their philosophical attitude when injured. Those which have strength tend to bite back. And that's Liz Greene. Thank you. Psychoanalyst Michel Vaillant wrote, at the core of every illness, physical as well as psychological, there is a fundamental wound, a struggle of inner conflict, which seems insurmountable and which can generate bitterness and rage and the loss of the will to live. While there is no implication in this statement of any individual culpability, there is a suggestion that in the conflict could be brought into consciousness. There is a good chance that the course of many physical and psychological illnesses could be altered or faced in a different and more positive spirit. And I do find myself that being able to study Chiron and Pluto as well, but clearly Chiron here, that we're able to really look at something and actually be able to work with it and see where we need to work with ourselves and others. Thank you, Linda. Next one. Okay, this picture here it's a bit blurry, but this was a picture and the centaur Chiron instructing young Achilles, the wall painting from Basilica of pronunciation Herculaneum Larus, I believe. So it's just beautiful that, you know, many of us with Chiron in our charts as children, we weren't instructed, and we're having to do that for ourselves as adults, which is quite, you know, it's quite an awakening for me to be able to look at my own Chiron. And that's, it's a gift. It's the biggest gift for me in my own healing. Can I see the next slide, please? Right, the houses of Chiron we're going to run through now. House and sign of Chiron. So it's about where and how life has wounded us and what we need to work on with. It does involve complex PTSD, which most of people on planet Earth do have varying degrees. And it's the space between ideal and reality. And it's to parent ourselves in accepting and loving ways. And it's about where we can flourish as well. And the next slide, please. And Chiron through the houses in the natal chart. With Chiron through the houses, the healing happens through integration, awareness, and through consciousness. It's knowing where we are and understanding what is happening and can assist us in making choices and smooth the path. Knowing can take the sting out of our pain and allow us to work with it as we integrate through awareness. The next slide, please. So now I'm going to run through the houses. We've got Chiron in Aries, which is ruled by Mars. And here in the first house, we're being asked to direct our energy and ground it. It is to do with our conscious outlook and identity, our individual will, successful manifestation and charisma, leadership and acceptance and consciousness unfoldment, integration of our healing skills. If we do not integrate it, then we can suffer nervousness, like wanting to be special, to be seen, and willful and pushy. Feelings of not belonging need to be healed. look to see where look to see where it's critical as it affects you, and to look at your healing and your early wounds. When blocked, a dam of nervous energy can result, and so we can look to nature and soothing music, and watch out for our ego as we are watched by others, because the polarity is the 7th house, so it's to do with others as well. Thank you, Linda. So Chiron in the 2nd house in Taurus, ruler is Venus. And here we've been asked to integrate our values and self-worth, life values and our needs on the earth plane. Also to know not all of us have the same values. And I've had to learn this as well. I'm a Taurus North Node, so learning that not everybody has the same values as me. Avoid thinking your values are the only ones. And values are unique and dynamic to each individual. We can ask ourselves, what do I need to be comfortable? What are my needs? And enhance your own values also. We can watch out for being judgmental and judgmentalism and fundamentalism, and practice grounding ourselves in nature and the earth. Simplicity, purity, and be aware of judgments on self and others. And it's a beautiful position for giving to others. So whilst we have needs, also often our needs can be met in our giving we receive. Thank you, Linda. Next slide. So Chiron in Gemini in ruler Mercury. Here we are being asked to integrate communication through crisis in communication, and learn to speak up and master communication in all of its forms. So there are many forms of in communication. We don't have to actually speak to communicate. We learn by making mistakes, looking at our self-expression, how we're expressing ourselves. This also covers, in the 3rd house, covers relations with siblings. We can look out for isolation of self. This is a time to walk our talk and look at our habits of thought and suppression of self. So not to suppress our thoughts, what needs to be healed and what needs to be said, and bring higher self into essence and inner teaching. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Chiron in the 4th, and this is Cancer, and it's ruled by the moon, and this is where my Chiron is. So here we are being asked to look at our deepest roots and wounds and the connection to our roots, to look at the inherited pain, because clearly pain just doesn't come from our own parents and our upbringing. It comes through what they inherited, and it goes, it goes on and on. This is a time of discovering who you are and discovering who you are and knowing who you are, and it is intense and deep. Release any thoughts that you are selfish to eliminate guilt, as this is a deep self-healing going on, and it's having strong and healthy boundaries, soothing of self and nurturing of self. And it's when we look after ourselves and care for ourselves, we're actually raising not only our own vibration, but the vibration of others. This is a time to be tender to ourselves. This is a healing of deep wounds of the family. Be careful to make healthy choices in your relationships, and make sure others are available for you first. A time to go inward and looking at psychology and the arts, knowing there is no separation and that we are not separate. Each one of us, as we heal, it heals the whole planet. Be selfish. You cannot be everything to everybody, and healing does raise our vibration and that of others also. So that's Chiron in the 4th house. Thank you. Chiron in the 5th in Leo, ruled by the sun. Here we are looking at, and I like the picture as well, the child being shown how to hold itself in trying to do something that maybe they haven't done before. So here we are looking at our child within and our own inner power and creativity. We may have a little monster there too, depending on where we are at consciously in our healing, and how awake we are and in our own healing. So look at ego issues and how healthy we are in our being and thinking. This is also about strong sexual desires and a wanting to play and be playful. It's about grounding ourselves through being creative, and also to look at our own inner child's needs. This is a time to learn about who you are and your behavior as you would a child, or watch a child and guide it. How can you fulfill inner child's needs in a safe way and healthy way? Allow for expression and fun and play and passion, sensitivity and teaching, and don't let the demanding child run the show when Leo is in the 5th house in Chiron. There you go, next slide please. Chiron in the 6th house, Virgo, Mercury, ruler Mercury. Here we're looking at balance of the body and mind, and this is the area of medicine and healing. Having a meaningful goal in life, integrating our adult life, cleaning up our room, so to speak, being organized and looking after our health, seeing that our work can be healing as it creates routine. This house also rules pets and animals, so look at integrating healing therapies, be productive through being organized, and I think I said clean up your room twice. I've got a message for there, anybody with Chiron in 6. Being of service, intuition, and solving problems in an organized manner. Watch out for hypochondria tendencies, which this can shift into we can shift that into the energy of work. I have a lot of planets in 6 in my natal chart, and I have to do that with myself, you know, to watch out for tendencies and shifting my mind by doing work and having routines. Next, please. Okay, Chiron in 7th Libra, and the ruler is Venus. This is about knowing self through others and significant relationships, our charisma and the collective energy, and the public domain and one-on-one. Here we strongly affect others on a mass scale. Watch out for craving the adoration of others, because again we've got the polarity, which is the 1st house here in all of the houses, polarity. So don't let your ego run you, as this is destructive to self. So we can question ourselves, you know, with our consciousness on this one. This is growing through relating, learning skills to relate, seeing the effect that we have on others and only not the effect we have on others, seeing how we affect others, giving and receiving. Look to wisdom, look to see who you are in relation to others. Relationships are our biggest teacher. Become conscious of what is going on and remove the blinkers in regard to relationships. Your gifts are seen, so know that you're being seen also in this place with this placement. And look out for time-consuming, futile relationships. Align yourself with your higher purpose. Consciousness helps us to gain control over our lives. Next slide, please. Right, Chiron in 8th house, Scorpio, and ruler is Pluto. This is about our earthly desire and sex, money, power, and how we handle it, and signifies our struggles with the mentioned. It's about a Plutonian crisis. Also, it's how we handle others. True power needs to be experienced, so empower self in healthy ways. Use detective work and resolve any guilt. Avoid manipulation and control of others. This is about our higher development and the values being sorted out. It's about evolving the psyche to a higher level of consciousness. Money, debts, finance, trust, intimacy, and learning to trust. Asking for help where we need it. Healing and love. Healing wounded love. Psychological development to expand that in that area. And do not give your power away with this placement. Develop your own free will. And to me, this can be done by mastering our lives. So we can, we can master areas of our lives within this placement also. Okay, thank you. Chiron in the 9th house of Sagittarius, and the ruler is Jupiter. So this is about philosophy. It's about travel, spirituality, and teaching. The crisis with the higher self. The higher self is wisdom energy. The journey to embodying the soul on this plane in everyday life. It's about traveling on a spiritual quest. And clearly we don't have to go somewhere in order to do that. We can travel within our own consciousness. It's about teaching others about higher realms and helping others develop themselves. The more integrated we are here, the more we are affected in our own well-being. So it's about integration of the higher self and embodying that. It's looking at wounded belief systems and any dogma, whether we're being dogmatic, and it's helping others understand belief systems and being pragmatic and learning the how to embody the essence of humanity, the union of the body and soul, and a greater awareness of self. There you go. Okay, Chiron in the 10th, Capricorn, Saturn. Here we are asked to master our own power and to acknowledge it and to integrate it and to not abuse it, to know self as we encounter the other. Houses 10 and 12 are where we give to the outside world. The crisis is about manifesting our true purpose. We are a leader here, ideally with sensitivity. It is a driven house. Do not seek power for power's sake. Having a good reputation and not being forceful, but being helpful. This is sharing our gifts and not about perfection, nor being better than others. It is about not getting involved in toxic work and to allow our true gifts to shine. What we learn here is a preparation to give it all away, and in the 11th house, in accumulation of wisdom and experience. Avoid not taking on power when offered it, as there can be an avoidance. So don't avoid. If people ask you and they need you, don't shun it, and do definitely take on what you can. And it's about mastering the power of your sacred gifts. So that's Chiron in the 10. Chiron in the 11th, Aquarius and ruler Uranus. Here we are to find our unique role in culture and give our creative gifts and allow that to be our outlet. Giving our gifts and having them received with grace. Having the ability to detach and know that we are on track exactly where we are. So it's the perfect placement for, we're in a good space here. Not to have an inflated ego. Ego inflation is often a cover for fear of not being accepted or acceptable. This is about sensitivity with friends and groups and not remain where it is not mutually beneficial to all concerned. There are healthy relations and unhealthy relations. Be discerning, as therein lies wisdom. Working with groups of people to heal and teaching others. Love of individual uniqueness of each person. The love to see what the nature of your gifts might be. Also, you're further ahead than you think here. So drop any fatalism and defeatism thinking. As above, so below. Each action has a higher purpose, and we do have free will. So 12th house, please. So Chiron in Pisces in Neptune, and that's where it's moved from. So as it's gone into Aries. So Chiron in Pisces, 12th house. Here we have come aware of mysticism and the dimensional energies, cosmic immersion. We have much that is unknown, other realms and other worlds. I find this to be true in my sleep time connection. I connect in with all sorts of strange things in my sleep time, which amuses me sometimes, and sometimes there's a lot of fear there. But I find this to be very connected to the outer realms in my own reality. This is to do with the deep unconscious and right brain thinking being expanded, but a need to integrate the left brain thinking to be pragmatic. The left and right brain polarity is about keeping balance and not getting lost in the right brain too much and bringing in the logic when we need it. Cultivate an inner knowing and trust. Use healing energy to be of service. This is also about generational healing and the history of our inheritance emotionally and spiritually, the bigger picture, the totality of the houses. Look at any shyness and work on any sensitive issues you may have. Be careful not to underachieve by getting lost in right brain thinking. balance it with the left brain. Bring yourself back to balance and be aware of any energies and how they affect you, and focus on self-mastery. Watch out for following other teachers and gurus in order, and so that you don't get pulled backwards. And stick to your own intuition. Here you are, the gate opener. Trust your inner world in this with this placement. That's it. Next. No, I think that slide is that my last slide?
Yeah, that's the last slide. And are there any comments from the audience or questions?
Does anybody, it'd be interesting to see where others have their placements, and if anybody's got a fourth house or where it is for people.
I've got a fourth house, Chiron, in Aquarius.
And you have that? Wow,
yeah.
okay.
And I found these meanings really, really good, very helpful. So thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Linda. When was your fourth house? When did it? How long has it been in your fourth house? Is it recent?
No, this is natally, Chiron in the natal. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Chiron is now transiting my sixth house.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And,
so I've got my return. Sorry to interrupt you. I've got my return, so it's just in my fourth house. So it's a very interesting experience to have it. The return, the Chiron return, is quite it's quite an eye opener.
Absolutely. The Chiron return's a fantastic time.
It is.
So we have someone speaking in the chat. Bear says, I've got a 12th house Chiron in Gemini, transiting, and Chiron is transiting my 10th house.
Okay.
Since the degree of 11 degrees Pisces.
Okay, is that the natal? It's Pisces. Did I catch?
He's got a 12th house Chiron in Gemini in the natal chart, and it's now transiting the 10th house. And the 10th house, so his midheaven begins at 11 degrees Pisces.
Okay, does Bear want to speak? Does he want to have a chat?
Well, I don't think so. I think that's why he typed in the chat box, but he can, if you want to, Bear, you can unmute and speak if you wish.
Yeah, I unmuted myself. I just wanted to wait my turn.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
yeah, so I really resonate. Let's see if I can also start my video here and just show my face. I've been having this. Hi. Yeah, I really resonate with these descriptions, both for the transiting Chiron experience and with the natal experience, especially. And I've been finding that applying this, especially resonating with the being careful of following other teachers and really having to check my own inner experience, particularly in my career and working with people out in the world.
And the 10th house as well. That's because it's like the seagull boss. I did hear somebody talk about that. It's like not having people, having problems with people, and like standing up for yourself, and but being able to do it without abusing power. So it's just an interesting. It is an interesting placement. Do you have the book, the Chiron book, by any chance?
I don't have that book.
It's worth having. I mean, I know that Chiron, I don't know if you know, the Chiron return happens when you're age 50 to 51. Mm-hmm. So if you're aware of that, yeah?
Yeah, I had Chiron in the third quarter square right as it was passing my midheaven, and working towards that return.
You are. So it's fascinating, but it's really helped me with my Chiron return, because it was only 3 years ago I got into astrology, and I didn't know what the hell was going on in my life. It was hard to understand, and I've been very educated by looking at Chiron and looking at my own planets. It's helped to give me a lot of inner peace, and to work out how I'm doing and to guide my future. So I'm far more in alignment through astrology than I was before it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Have you got any questions? Bear? You okay?
I'm curious about your thoughts about Chiron, transiting the nodes. I've got Chiron approaching my north node at 3 degrees Aries.
I've got a bit to learn on that. I'm very much, I'm not with the nodes yet, but I am doing some studying on that. I'm in astrology school with the nodes. So that's part of my, you know, in the year to come, I'm going to be looking at that. So do you know much about it?
Not Chiron. I haven't, not in terms of studying other things. In terms of my own personal study and looking at other people's charts, I've definitely been noticing Chiron and nodal interactions really popping up with a lot of folks who are practicing healers, and that kind of also showing up in 6th and 12th house stuff as well.
And then the aspects. It's fascinating. The planets talking to each other and what they get up to. It's a beautiful world, astrology. I also liked that Carl Jung worked in psychoanalysis. Most of us, I think everybody knows. I assume everybody knows, but they don't. And he studied the planets of 450 people. He was couples that he was working with in his therapy, which is beautiful knowledge that he did that, because I highly rate his way of thinking and being, as he was as a person. You know, I get a lot out of Carl Jung as well as evolutionary astrology too. So
awesome.
Yeah. Nice to speak to you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Meet again. Yeah. Okay.
Anyone else like to share their Chiron placement or have any questions? Wanda, go ahead.
Hi, Penelope. My Chiron, of course, you already know, was in Pisces, and mine is in the 7th house, conjunct Mercury. So I could relate a lot to the Chiron in Gemini, or Chiron in the 3rd, and also conjunct Saturn. So I could relate to that Chiron in Capricorn and you know, Saturn.
Where's your transit now? Where is your transit?
It's in the tail end of the 7th house.
Okay, so and then it'll be going into 8.
Right. Yeah.
In a couple of years, or is it sort of,
actually probably not until late next year, because it stops right at the, you know, like it's at the back door, like when you've forgotten something, you got to turn around and go back in the house and get it. That's what Chiron is getting ready to do.
I will look at yours then. Well, play with that. I would like to see yours properly and just have a look. That'd be a nice thing to do as friends. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great, because I'm struggling with the not necessarily the following others' teachers, gurus, in order to not be pulled backwards, but I mean it's the being pulled backwards as far as the relationship part.
What do you mean? I think when you say relationship, I mean I see everybody as relationships. Do you mean relationship to other human beings and the interaction? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and specifically because of the conjunction to Saturn, family issues. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this is about the natal chart, and I think Linda's just, because I was, you know, we were working out the natal, but definitely it'll be interesting to see. So where are you natally again?
In the 7th. It is in the 7th. I'm just
you've got your return. You've had your return then as well.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just 2 years past the return.
Oh wow. Okay. Interesting. It'd be good to chat on that. So
this has
great.
been very, very educational.
I've enjoyed it, and I really think, Linda, the slides just absolutely stunning. Linda helped me, and I really appreciate the pictures. But I found a few, but some of them, they're just so stunning.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, they are beautiful.
Yeah. Is there anybody else?
Okay, I guess they're all a little shy. So shall we wind down now, Penelope?
That's absolutely fine. That's really good. And thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much from all of us. Looking forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for a great presentation on Chiron. And thank you from all of us. See you next time.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Penelope. This was brilliant.
Is that off now? Are we off?